Start off with, let's review what an autotroph and a producer are. An autotroph is an organism that can produce its own food, or also known as a producer, can produce its own food. Usually they think as producers as plants, things that photosynthesize, capture light energy from the sun, convert carbon dioxide and water into sugars that we can use for food. There are other types of autotrophs called chemoautotrophs that can take inorganic compounds, harness them for energy, and make their own food also. A heterotroph is an organism that cannot make its own food and has to ingest another organism for its energy. So in this example, the moose is eating the grass. The grass would be the producer, and the moose would be the heterotroph. So remember that a heterotroph can go by the other word, consumer. Same thing as with an autotroph can go by producer. A food chain follows the feeding relationships among organisms. All food chains start with a producer. In this example, the locust is the first connection to the corn or the maize. So the grasshopper is considered the primary consumer. The next level, the secondary consumer, eats the primary consumer and does not have a direct link to the corn except through the grasshopper. That leaves the snake as the tertiary. Tertiary means third or three. So the snake is the third level consumer in this food chain. A food web shows the many interactions between food chains. In this example, in most examples you see, they put the producer down at the bottom. In this example, the producers are at the top right. You have eucalyptus leaves and gum trees that are the producers in this image. There are several food chains that then radiate out from the producers. Notice how all the arrows point away from the sun and point towards where the energy is going. A keystone species are those which have an extremely high impact on a particular ecosystem relative to its population. Keystone species are also critical for the overall structure and function of an ecosystem and influence which other types of plants and animals make up that ecosystem. Thus, in the absence of a ketone species, many ecosystems would fail to exist. Some of the new vocabulary words that we're going to cover are trophic level. A trophic level is each step in a food chain or food web. As in previous slides, this would be where we refer to the primary consumer, then the secondary consumer, and the primary producer. An ecological pyramid is an illustration of the relative amounts of energy or matter contained within each trophic level in a food chain or food web. Biomass is the total mass of living tissue within a trophic level. Only a small amount of energy in any trophic level is available to organisms at the next trophic level. This is because organisms use much of the energy they consume on processes to stay alive. Energy is also released as heat. Pyramids of energy show the relative amount of energy available at each trophic level of a food chain or food web. The pyramid is widest at the bottom. The shape of the pyramid shows the efficiency of energy transfer between levels. On average, about 10% of the energy in one trophic level is transferred up to the next trophic level. In this image, if we started out with 100 kilocalories of energy from the sun that was available to the producers in the first trophic level, then 10% of that energy would be transferred to the second trophic level of the zebras. So we'd go from 100 to 10 kilojoules of energy. 90 kilojoules of energy would be lost to heat and body processes. Going up to the next energy level of the secondary consumer, again 10% would be lost. 10% of the 10 would be 1. So of the original 100 kilojoules of energy trapped by the plants, the lion would get 1 kilojoule of energy. The amount of living tissue in a trophic level is called its biomass. The amount of biomass is a trophic level is determined by the amount of energy in that level. A pyramid of biomass is a model that shows the relative amount of living organic matter in each trophic level of an ecosystem. The total biomass of the producers ingested by herbivores is more than the total biomass of the herbivores in an ecosystem. Likewise, the total biomass of the primary carnivores or secondary consumer will be less than the herbivores, and so on. A pyramid of numbers is a model that shows the relative number of individual organisms at each trophic level in an ecosystem. The pyramid of numbers for an ecosystem is usually similar in shape to the pyramid of biomass. The number of organisms on each level decreases from the level below it. Sometimes consumers are much smaller than the organisms they feed upon. For example, thousands of insects may eat from a single tree. In such cases, the pyramid of numbers may be upside down, but the pyramid of biomass will still be smaller at the top than at the bottom.